What is going on, everybody? Chris with Journals Comics here. This was spontaneous. I'm gonna try to let some folks hop into the live stream. So if you're viewing this on the rebound or on the playback, just bear with me for about a minute or so, or just skip through the first minute or two of this video. I will be discussing some issues regarding CGC. I got into some interesting comments on some of my older videos, including the one I did today discussing CGC. So, like I said, let's just sit for a minute to try to see if anyone will pop on in. And for those watching on playback, I will say once again, I am running my 1,500 subscriber contest. For those that have not entered yet, please find my 1,500 subscriber contest video. Check that out. See what you need to do in order to submit an entry and have a chance to win some awesome prizes. What's going on, Isaac? Double S, what's good? So let's give it about one more minute here. What else is going on? I got a live stream tomorrow going on with special guest B-Level from B-Level Star Wars. We are going to be going in depth into the current culture of all things geek culture and pop culture. I want it to be fun, but it's going to be very thought-provoking as well. So that's going to be a good one. That's at 6 p.m. Friday, May 1st, tomorrow, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So, man, CGC. Cody, okay, Cody, what's going on, man? Okay, so I know I can't hear or see you, but you're hearing and seeing me right now. Let me just say to everyone, man, so for most of you that know me and watch my channel know that I'm extremely respectful. I'm all about unity in this community, but sometimes, I get crap. People are trolls on the internet and they tend to be cynical and talk crap. And sometimes it's tough. So we had Cody who's viewing in. Big shout out to Cody. Much respect. He was commenting and I was reading. I'm like, is this guy is he trying to be sarcastic and talk down to me? And then I was reading, but we got to talking and chatting. And it's all respect and it's all good. But we're having this kind of brick wall on opinions here that we're trying to get to the bottom of. So that's the point of doing this video. And so let's go into it, guys. So, okay. So to Cody's point, Cody was watching my haul video that I did. Let me grab it real quick. I'm about to hop off camera. Should have pulled this out. First and foremost. So, all right, we're good. Cody was watching my video that I did showing off my Hulk 180. That's a 4.0 green label. It does have the value stamp cut out. And he was saying that books that are incomplete in any way would automatically get a 0.5. And I was like, respectfully, I think you're wrong. I disagree. This is where I'm getting my information from. Somebody else chimed in, was like, yeah, that's true and whatnot. And I'm like, this can't be right. But I was humbling myself saying, well, where's the information coming from that they're getting? Where's the information coming from that I'm getting? I've talked with CGC. I talked to 2 people at CGC. I've read articles online. I've even seen books. Ironically, well, before I finish saying that statement, I will say, so I'm at a point where maybe I need to humble myself because there's some incorrect information out there somewhere that either Cody's getting or I'm getting or somebody's getting. So I was like, let me try to get to the bottom of this. And I was going on eBay right now. And all I put in like CGC incomplete. And all I see is green labels and blue labels 0.5s. And I'm like, am I wrong? 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. Because the thing that I know, and I'm not crazy, when I was looking for Fantastic Four 49, I was contemplating, do I get a, because the purple label, there was like a 5.0 purple label, because I'm in a price range, right? I'm looking at a 5.0 purple label. There's a green label. There's like a 2.0 blue label or a raw book. And I'm like, which one should I get? There was a blue label incomplete that I do remember being 3.0 or 3.5. I know it wasn't a 0.5 for a fact. It was about a 3.0 or 3.5. So I'm like, I'm not crazy. This was matter of fact. It was real. So I pulled up some information here. And this is from Overstreet as well as CGC. Oh, before I actually read this, let me tell you guys what CGC said to me. Because I asked them, because I was in a forum and people were like, hey, you don't have to get if you got a book, you could send it in that's incomplete, you could send it in and ask them for a blue label. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So I called CGC twice, and both people, and I'm assuming it was two women. I'm assuming it was different people both times. They stated to me specifically that the books that would be a green label, you could ask, as long as they're, what did they say? I think they said as long as they're above a 3.5 and up, or maybe it was below a certain threshold. I think it was above a certain threshold, you can ask, because they said sometimes when it's already low, they automatically give it a blue label. So I don't remember the exact words, but because, and I can't paraphrase or verbatim say what they said, but basically they clarified to me that sending in a green label book could still get a decent grade. It's just going to be lower than the green label, because the green label is measured by, if this value stamp was cut out, or if this wasn't cut out and that wasn't missing, the totality of the book would be a 4.0, basically. So that's what it was saying to me, and that's what they confirmed to me. And that's what allowed me to make a decision to buy a green label. Because believe me, if I was told, nope, a green label, no matter if it looks like a 9.0 or 4.0, if you want that blue label, it's going to automatically be a 0.5. If they would have told me that, I would not have went and bought a green label, a Hulk 180. Absolutely not. I would have bought like a blue label 1.0, 1.5, or even a raw book at that point, like a raw 5. Well, it's incomplete, so never mind. Not that high grade, but I would have got a lower grade, probably raw book, and just stayed away from the green label. So let me go into reading what I found here, again, from Overstreet as well as CGC, right here on my phone. I know you guys can't really see that. So this is discussing the 0.5 grade in incomplete books. The question concerns the removal of coupons or Marvel value stamps from issues and the corresponding effect that their absence should have on the final grade the issue receives. For quite some time, by strict definition, this has meant that issues would be graded at a 0.5. Over the years, of course, many dealers established the precedent of apparent grades followed by the notation of what was wrong with the issue, such as a missing value stamp. While we have never particularly endorsed this practice, neither have we ignored it in our evaluations of the marketplace in general or in grading specifically. In the opinions of many, the concerns about coupons or other missing items are further split by the question of whether or not the absence of this piece affects the story content of the book. And I do believe I discussed that with the CGC individuals as well, saying that it does not affect the story of the book. Some have proposed that grades be allowed to drift as high as 3.5. And again, this is in reference to something missing, not affecting the actual story of the book. For instance, on an issue that might have otherwise graded a 9.8, we believe this is far too loose of a standard and will lead to the erosion of consumer confidence and certification, based on the suggestion that it would then favor the seller over the dealer. Continues on, however, others have suggested a more modest correction to a 1.0 or a 1.5 range. So again, this is all, let me bring down what's, so in the realm of CGC, it states, CGC does not automatically drop to the 0.5 grade on this. They address it in a number of ways. Missing coupons, story pages, non-story pages. Missing piece from a page, coupon, value stamp, or inserts. CGC does not go straight to universal 0.5. States it right here. And I know you guys can't really see that, but I'm not just making this stuff up. It's not a forum where people are just expressing an opinion. This is a statement specifically from CGC that in terms of coupons, value stamps, or inserts, not affecting the story, CGC does not go straight to universal 0.5. CGC might grade the book as high as a 3.5. if the book is in otherwise nice condition. Restored or lower grade books where there is not enough grade difference to give the book a qualified grade. Example, a book is missing a small coupon that does not affect the story, and the book would grade qualified as a 4.0, but a universal grade of 3.0. Let me repeat that. A book that is missing a small coupon that does not affect the story, and the book would grade as a qualified 4.0, would receive a universal 3.0. So it states right there that that's I mean it's plain and simple, cut and dry, right? So a universal grade does not automatically get dropped to a 0.5, according to my two pretty valid sources, being that one of them is CGC themselves. So again, to Cody, man, much respect. And I just, yeah, maybe this is a situation of where this information is coming from. Because like I said, I just looked at eBay and Googled CGC incomplete blue label, and all I saw for blue label incompletes was 0.5. So something's going on. It seems that I think Cody is a very smart individual. He knows a lot about what he's talking about from me reading through his statements. I tend to pride myself on educating myself before I speak on subjects. So this is very interesting. I want to call CGC again. I've called them multiple times discussing this. I also went into some forums on Facebook commenting about this to get this conversation starting again. Ferengi and grades on a green label are BS, in my opinion. Book either has a legit grade, and I agree, or no grade. Well, I agree about the green label. Ultimately being like, well, if it didn't have this cutout, this is what it would get. I get it, and I understand that's why the market isn't very big on them. Consumers and collectors don't really hop onto the green label. I get that, but at the same time, I do agree with the fact that if there's a cutout, especially if it's not affecting story, it doesn't mean that it can only qualify for a 0.0. I think that's just as much BS as giving out a green label, a what if label, so to say. So I get that. Let's see, Cody. So we're kind of both right, as it was stated earlier that most books are graded 0.5, but it's not automatic. Great discussion. Yeah, appreciate that, man. So so Cody. Now I want to go into more about CGC and my opinions on them. And again, man, I'm glad we were able to get through, like, being that we're both presenting very, very solid argumentation to this topic. But I think maybe my points, like turnaround time, subjectivity of the grade, I think you were looking at them in more of a broad sense instead of kind of a streamlined sense to each specific thing and each specific situation that I was speaking on. And maybe that's my fault for not being crystal clear. But let me talk about what you just said, Cody, about most of the time it might get a 0.5, but sometimes. So because there's no transparency with CGC, because we don't have their 10-step outline or whatever their method is on grading, whatever standards they set, why aren't those public? So again, I'm not saying that CGC is a hoax or that CGC isn't, that we shouldn't see them as legit and professional. It is, from a business standpoint, it is good business to be transparent and to make public those standards. And I said in a comment, Cody, to you too, responding that it's like, if, for example, say the Overstreet guideline, what is it, a 10 point in the Overstreet to grading? Say that was CGC standard and it's public to us as collectors, right? That means if I send my books, I'm not a professional. I think I have a book that's a 8.5, 9.0, maybe somewhere around there, right? And it comes back at 6.0. I can then pull up CGC standards and call them up and say, hey guys, I'm not a professional, but I really went over this book. I pressed it, I cleaned it, and I really went over it. And I looked at your grading standards, and I thought it would be an 8.5, 5.0, 9.0. I can understand maybe an 8.0, maybe even a 7.5, but how did you guys get to a 6.0? Because I'm not seeing it. And then there would be accountability and transparency where then they can have that communication with their customer base. Oh, what's up, Alex? So, and yeah, I said Alex has been doing Alex Comic Hoarder. Big shout out, man. He's been doing a lot of videos where he's been putting his, unprofessional, but yet, solid collector opinion on his books that he's been sending out to CGC, and they've been pretty decent. And that's good to see. It's good to see consistency from CGC. But again, all I'm saying is, why not provide transparency? Why not? That is questionable. Regardless of their practice or not, I'm going to question that. So when we talk about giving CGC the power to grade an incomplete book that doesn't affect story at a 0.5 or a 3.5, even if that book looks like, say, like a 9.0, if there wasn't a cutout, what standard are they basing that on? What standard? If I have this brand new book that looks near mint, right, that has a cutout and doesn't affect story, and I call them up and I request a blue label, who's to say that whoever grades my book isn't going to make a personal opinionized decision to either give it a 0.5 or a 3.5? That's too much of an error. Virgin says exactly the only reason to not make them public is the only reason to not make them public is to avoid legit customer complaints. Now, that's a hypothesis, right? That's an assumption that you're making. We can't say that there's something shady going on, but we can't argue your assumption either. Why is this not a legit assumption? It might not be the only reason. It might not. They might have their reasons, but what are they? We're almost forced to see them as the bad guy, if that makes sense. Cody says, I think it's a valid point, but there is also gray notes that tries to explain, and you're right, Cody. I completely agree. You should be able to call and talk about grader notes. And that's another thing. Depending on who's grading your books, the grader notes could be very, very detailed, or they could be like not there. My Fantastic Four 74 book that I sent in that I thought was a 9.0, that book was like immaculate. It had no grading notes. I think the only grading note was like off-white pages or something like that. So I'm like, and that's why I was like really questioning what was the problem. So now I want to go back to the okay, well, actually, Cheese Boy says it's their opinion. You're asking them to grade it. Look, I'm not arguing that. That's exactly how their business is ran. It's their opinion. You're right. You're right. But what does that say about a market that trusts so heavily on somebody's opinion without any kind of understanding of accountability? And let me go back to the baseball example. If you're a baseball player, right, and you're getting paid millions of dollars, you're signing contracts, and this is your career. You're up there. You want to win World Series. You want to win batting titles, right? And you go up there and you have a strike zone, right? That strike zone is not immune to human error because the umpire calls balls and strikes, right? There's human error, and that's part of the game. But tell me something. If that umpire, if you're up to bat, right, and and you get a pitch right at your head, and that umpire calls it a strike, right? And then the next team comes up, and he gets the same pitch right at their head, and they call it a ball. Is that game legit? Is that game valid? Are you really going to trust the opinion of the umpire to ump and to manage a legit game? That game, there's no validity in the game then. You see what I'm saying? So although I get it, we're paying for an opinion, but they call themselves professionals. So that margin of error needs to be shrunk down into a standard. Okay? There should be, I get the range, and that's why I say if CGC graded their books according to the Overstreet grading guide standard, and another shout out to Alex Comic Hoarder for doing a video showing this. It shows you a range. If they said, look, it's our opinion, but we base it on the Overstreet standard. So if I have a book that was a 4.0 that I thought was a 4.0, or let's say a 5.0, but it came back a 4.0 or a 6.0, I can bring up the Overstreet standard and say, yep, well, that's actually in the legit range. We don't have that. We don't have no standard that they are abiding by that is public information. Let's look at some comments here. And I'm trying to keep up, guys. I'm sorry. On the FF book, wasn't there water damage, or was that just the camera? Because there was a little blemish, like it looked kind of like a stain on the top of the back. But I believe I said this in the video too. Before I even did anything to it, I just gave it a press. I didn't clean it or anything. I just pressed it, but it was already flat. So there was, usually when you get water damage, you get either ripples or a certain texture, right? There was none of that in that book. It was just a slight discoloration. So that wasn't even on the grader's note. So that's why it was questionable. That's why I am using comic skin, since I love the aesthetics of a slab, but do not care about. Hey, that's comic skins. I gotta look into them. So again, guys, like the baseball analogy, it's like there has to be some kind of standard, right? And I was saying that's why they use the for viewer, that's why they have replay now. So baseball knew, look, there's too much human error. So what do we do to improve the game, improve the quality of the game? So CGC should say, we understand this is our opinion. If there's human error, what can we do to improve the quality of our services? What did MLB do to improve the quality of the game? They instituted instant replay in the replay booth, and they also are putting that little square, computer graphics square, strike zone square, so we can see the slight margin of error. And believe me, I've been watching baseball since before I could talk and walk. I know that because we have replay in that square, these umpires have honed down their margin of error. Because it's changed the game and it's changed the quality. So I would expect CGC, CBCS, and all these companies to be just as transparent to trying to hone down that margin of error, for sure. The ump is there to judge. It's never going to be perfect. Absolutely. I see it all the time in baseball. It's just human error opinion. There's nothing you do about it. They try to make the right call. And again, by trying to make that right call, still understanding that there's a margin in error, they shrunk that margin of error. I want to talk about turnaround times too, because I think that when I was talking about that might have been taken out of context. I'm not mad with long turnaround times when you put a period on it, right? But when I send out books, and I believe when I sent it in, the turnaround time was like 55 to 75 days, and that's long. But that's what it states. I'm paying for that service, right? My turnaround time, I think, was like 90 something days. So when you talk about business, and that's business days. When you talk about business days, I was way out of the higher range turnaround time. That is bad business. That's bad business because, for one, I wasn't notified. If there is a delay, like we have a lot of this going on right now with the COVID crisis and a lot of people ordering stuff online. If there's a delay, and I've been ordering off of Walmart, Target, Amazon, if there is a delay, they inform you that there is a delay in your order, whether that's filling your order or shipping your order. So if CGC is promoting a strict turnaround time on their website, and that's the service you're paying for, if that turnaround time isn't adhered to, they should give you at least the courtesy to let you know your books are delayed. And maybe they give you a 10% coupon off your next order, 5%, whatever, or just let you know. Just providing the courtesy without any other perks is good customer service right there. So that's all I'm saying about that. The second thing I was saying about turnaround time isn't complaining about long turnaround time, but I am concerned about the business model. And that's why I use the Starbucks as an example in that video. When you have a system that benefits those that use a expedited service, yes, those people are using the expedited service. They're paying extra for the expedited service. They should get the expedited service. But in order to facilitate those expedited services, the company needs to they need to manage their staff, or they need to allocate whatever staff resources, uh, whatever resources they need to make sure that those expedited services are getting to those customers, while at the same time making sure their staff and their resources are still fulfilling the standard customers' orders. Starbucks has staff and resources provided for your average Joes that walk through the door and stand in line and pay for their coffee, right? But they make sure they have enough staff over here getting out just the expedited orders, okay? If they took all of their staff and said, well, so many people are liking the expedited service, we need to take all of our staff because we make more money off of the expedited services. So let's make sure we get all of our staff for what's bringing us in more money. And you have nobody working the door, you are subjectifying a certain amount of your customer base that are just standing there like, hey, look, I understand that they get expedited service, but can I still get some kind of service? That's my analogy to the fact that I question. I don't know. I'm not there, but it is a valid question to say. And this is one thing I do know. CGC told me that they are short-staffed. They told me twice. This was last year. I called them 2 different times last year. We are short-staffed. It's hard for us to get to the books coming out of the warehouse. They're sitting in the warehouses longer. They told me that. So it is very, very rational of me to hypothesize and to have an educated assumption that maybe, just maybe, CGC is taking more staff away from their standard customer orders and putting them to their expedited customer orders because they're saying, well, you know what? This is making us more money. Let's put more resources and more staff to what's going to earn us the higher dollar amount. Okay. And they're neglecting these standard customers. And if they want to, as a businessman, you can't argue with that. Hey, handle your business to what's going to bring you the higher bottom line, right? But if you do so, you need to be transparent with your customers. You need to go on that website and say, nope, it's not a 55 to 75 day turnaround. It's a 75 to 95 day turnaround, or it's an 80 to 100 day turnaround. You know, you need to be transparent. And that's the point I was trying to make. Tony says he never had a great experience with CGC. And I believe you. I don't think you're just saying that to, like, you know, talk crap. A lot of people have had great experiences. Might be true, but how do they act when they make a mistake and one is not a famous YouTuber? I don't know what you're responding to here, Varangian, but again, you pose a question to something saying how do they act to each customer? And it's hard for us to state that because there is, regardless if you trust their service or not, there's a lack of transparency for sure. CGC isn't a huge business. I think it's a good argument, but at the same time, they need more business to get more staff. Cody, you bring up, yeah, that's the conundrum of it all, right? It's like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? You spend money to make money. You know, you produce more capital by having more expenditures, right? But again, I'm not excusing the fact that they want to focus on higher dollar amounts. Why, if I'm a manufacturer, right, and I manufacture cell phones, say, or cell phone parts, and I can manufacture to a market that is you know, wants to purchase the hot new cell phones. Am I gonna spend my resources making flip phones still, or making smartphones that have technology that's 5 years old, but it's cheaper. No, I'm going to understand my market. I'm going to understand my market and allocate a certain amount of resources to those that are going to at least bring me a certain amount of money, but I'm going to allocate my resource to what's going to allow me to be more profitable. But again, if you do that, you have to be transparent with your customer base. You have to tell them. You have to tell them exactly what you're doing. Otherwise, it's bad business. She says, I've been doing business with CGC for 2 years now, and the business days they have given has always been on time. I've never experienced, and that's good. And I believe you too, Cheese Boy. I believe that you are not like, a CGC spy. I think people do get carried away with like everything's a conspiracy theory, and that's not the case. So I believe it. I do. I don't know how much business you bring them. I don't know if the only orders that you submit are expedited. I don't know if they are more lenient with expedited orders, if they grade higher for expedited orders or for certain like Todd McFarlane signings. I don't know. All I know is that until they are more transparent, questioning everything is valid. If they have nothing to hide, then they should be more transparent because it's good business. So why not be good business? And maybe I'm getting kind of off topic with this, but I declare myself a businessman. I have 2 business degrees. I studied this. I wrote thesis papers on this. We are in a day and age where we are changing the idea of the business model, right? With the Industrial Revolution and going into the 20th century, business is focused on heavily on a top-down management style, right? Where it was very dictative. You have your worker bees and you have your executives, and they tell you what to do, and they expect consumers to be force-fed and just buy their product. That's it. We're going to tell you what you should buy and when. We are more autonomous now as consumers. We understand the power, we understand more our purchasing power. It's more than ever. Social media has allowed this. We can voice our opinions. We have Yelp, we have Facebook, we have Twitter. We know how powerful our voices as consumers are in the technological age. So even big corporations like McDonald's are starting to listen more to what consumers want, because they're learning that, guess what? What drives economy, what drives bottom line isn't big, fat, rich executives sitting here dictating what consumers want, thinking that they're going to make billions of dollars of profit off them. No, because once the consumers know that they have power and they change their spending habits, okay, we have to listen to them. Even some of the biggest companies like McDonald's, Starbucks has been leaders in listening to not what the employees want, what the consumers want, and they've been leading the way. Even Walmart, who has been paying workers slave wages and has been denying even full-time workers benefits and quality of life. There's been so many lawsuits. Even Walmart is changing the way that they do business. My point here is that people used to think that ultimately sneaky bad business was good business because business has to be corrupted at some level. No. Businesses, multi-billion-dollar businesses are understanding we can make billions of dollars and still provide quality of life to our workers and provide the quality product that we want, that the consumers want. CGC needs to understand this. They absolutely need to understand this. Cody says, you and Reggie Collect should debate about this. That would be awesome live stream, my dude. I would love to see it too. Hey, man, I'll keep that in mind. I believe that we need a strong CBCS along. Absolutely. So both companies can sleep on good customers. Absolutely, dude. Competition breeds a successful market. I mean, why do you think Burger King, Subway, and McDonald's are in the same place? Why do you think Starbucks and Pete's Coffee or whatever coffee is in your area. That's what we have around here, are like on the opposite corners of each other. You know, we need healthy competition. Absolutely. I am not on a kick here. And I know that some people are on, oh, screw CGC. I'm all about CBCS. No, let's hold them all accountable to the same standards so they all can be successful. It would drive a more healthier market for sure. Tony says, I would be all over CGC if they had a verified signature program like CBCS. Agreed. CBCS needs CGC and vice versa. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Because they challenge each other. They challenge each other with product, quality, service, human resources, customer service all around, vision, mission, all of that stuff. When you have healthy competition, it challenges you as a business to be better. Absolutely. The problem with grading in comic book industry is that a lot of the high-end collectors mostly own CGC and therefore try to keep other grading services down to not lose on their investments. Okay, Varangian, I like this comment. I'm gonna keep this up because ultimately I think you're right. But I don't think anyone is really trying to keep another grading service down necessarily. I think it's more of a free market demand. So for some reason, and I probably know why, maybe. Well, for some reason, CGC is that's industry standard, right? And the reason why I can understand that is because of just the quality of the case, the quality of the label, and the visual appeal. I can't speak to the standards of grading or the consistency of grading, turnaround time, value, all that stuff. No, but for a long time, CGC's slabs have looked beautiful. CGCs are getting there. Even PGX is looking a lot better these days. But I think what happened once CGC once you have that standard with CGC, it's the demand now that drives the other companies to be a lower tier. It's not necessarily that anyone's, vindictively forcing other companies down. It's just like the market spoke. And right now the market says, because of the demand of the consumers, whether it's the buyers wanting to buy slabs, whether it's the flippers wanting to buy slabs and flip them, or buy raw books and get them slabbed and flip them, for some reason the market says right now I'm going to get the most bang for my buck with using CGC service. If you want an example of bad customer service, CBCS can provide. And Tony, you know what? And that's the thing. We talk about. I'm really driving it into CGC, but you don't see me here saying CGC, screw them, go to CBCS. I don't know about CBCS. I have never dealt with them, so I can't speak to them. So I mean, I'm sure these flaws are everywhere. I mean, even companies. I worked for Starbucks, and even companies like Starbucks get public backlash, right? Remember what happened a couple years ago now when a customer was like refused. I think it was like an issue of racial profiling, and there was this whole boycott, Starbucks and all this stuff. And it doesn't speak to their company culture, but it speaks to the fact that mistakes can happen, even if other grading services would have better grading and services than CGC. And we'll see about that. We'll see through time, if I think if more people start actually doing their research, maybe we can have these companies level out the playing field a little bit more. Are you going to be buying any more CGC books, says Isaac? That's a great question. Here's the thing. I got my first membership last year, and it renewed in early February or mid-February. Right around then is when I was like, I already had the issues with the inconsistency in my grades, and I've been hearing so many stories, so many negative stories, and then I saw that Superman video. Oh my God! Until this day, I'm standing firm with my opinions on how that individual handled that book, but I'm not going to go into that. And I was at a point where I was like, I'm going to call them. I want to cancel indefinitely. I'm going to do this. But then the crisis started happening, lockdown started happening, and I just never really got around to doing it. And I'm actually at a point where I don't know. I really don't know. I've been watching Alex the Comic Hoarder's videos. He's been having a lot of consistent books comes back, and that gives me faith in the company. I have been looking at other companies, and I still enjoy the appearance and the quality of the slab of CGC. But it concerns me because, like I said, when I was looking for my Fantastic Four 49, I ultimately went with the raw book because I was scared to no, I ultimately no, excuse me. I went with the raw book thinking that I wanted to submit it to CGC, but ultimately I don't want to because I'm scared that I'm going to lose value with it, because I bought the book at a 4.0. So obviously that's an opinion of an eBay seller. I looked it over. I think 4.0 was very valid, and then I gave it a press. So I think with that press, it can definitely get a 4.0, maybe even a 4.5. If I send that book into CGC and it gets a 3.0, I'm going to lose money on it, even as a 3.0 slab. So if I ever wanted to resell it, I could probably get more money for it as stating as a non-professional opinion that this book's a 4.0 or 4.5, selling it raw, than I could going and getting it slabbed, and it might coming back as a 3.0. So I'm hesitant. So to answer that question, I don't know yet. I don't think that there is an evil plan behind it, just that it's an uphill battle for other companies, even if they have better quality. That's true. Yeah, other companies have to kind of work from behind. They have to those steroids to kind of like compete, right? So they have to have better customer service. They have to make their quality even better. They got to have their faster turnaround times. It's going to be an uphill battle, that's for sure. Unless CGC somehow shoots themselves in their foot for some reason. Cheese Boy says, I eat cheese. Hey, man, I'm Sicilian and I love cheese, but I've cut a lot out because I have a sensitive stomach. It sucks, man, because I'd be cooking homemade pasta and lasagnas and homemade pizza and all that stuff, and even like enchiladas. And man, Tony asks, do you think Cons making CGC the exclusive grading company is a good idea? Why do you think some artists and writers won't do business with CGC? Ooh. This is a loaded question, isn't it? Why do you think some artists and writers won't do business with CGC? The first thing that pops into my mind about the second part of your question, Tony, is why? That's why. What's going on that we don't know? If we don't have the answers, why would any artist or writer be hesitant to doing business with CGC? Unless we know that they are hesitant to doing business with all grading companies. Again, is there citing going on? Behind the scenes, is something going on behind the scenes that we don't know. As far as cons, I can't. The only thing I could speak about that is we got to look at, it's a free market, right? It is a free market for businesses, whether you're a brick and mortar, whether you're an eBay store, whether you just have a table at cons. It's a free market for these sellers to do whatever they can in the means of law and regulation in order to make the most money that they possibly can, in order to be the most profitable. So if the only reason that they're taking an exclusive right with CGC is because it means more money in their pocket and more success, I can't fault them for that. I can't fault them for that. If there's something going on behind the scenes, though, that we don't see, then that may be cause for a problem. Favoritism of some sort. I don't know. But that's why there's when you look at businesses, and there are OSHA regulations, and that's why we have human resources and we have things, because in any type of business relationship, whether it's a employer to an employee, whether it's an employer to a partner, like whether that's a third party partner or just another entity itself working, everything is contractualized and everything falls under strict regulations by law. So if for some reason things are happening behind the scenes for CGC to get exclusive rights, and they're breaking some kind of OSHA law or whatever's going on, then that becomes problematic. But ultimately, hey, I can't really speak to that, because if it's a free market and they're doing what they can to put money in their pockets and to pay their bills, it is what it is. And maybe just these other companies have to do more to compete, have to put better options on the table. It's like a free market. It's like the free market in sports, right? You know, LeBron James doesn't need to stay with the Cavs for some kind of loyalty reason. He can do whatever the heck he wants. So if he wants to go with the Lakers and they're offering him more money, hey, it is what it is. Now, if they're breaking organizational laws and they're slipping him like money under the table or something, then obviously that is something that could be tried in a court, and the league can get sued, and LeBron James can get freaking blackballed for playing in the NBA. So I hope that makes sense. Library of Comics, what's going on, man? Lisa says perception that they are all the best and your book will be more valuable with CGC level influence. Yeah, so right now it is a lot about perception. And that's why I did my video today, guys, and I talked about this. It's like, regardless if you agree, even if you're content with CGC, right, and you've had great experiences with them and you think that they're consistent across the board, even one inconsistency without us having transparency can be problematic, because if we get to a point to where we're just accepting of that sticker, if we don't question the sticker at all, and we have nothing that validates that sticker means nothing unless we're all, and I hate using this word. I'm not going to say sheep because it's being thrown around way too much right now and I can't stand it. But if we are like, if we are just trained, subconsciously trained to believe whatever the sticker says without any accountability or structure behind it, we're not doing ourselves or the market any good. Because if, just say, hypothetically speaking, if something's going on at CGC or any of these big companies where these grades are not just there's not just a small margin of error, but they're extremely inconsistent, okay? If there really is a problem, and we have been buying and selling these books all this time on eBay and at cons and at shows, and we finally, the majority of collectors finally realize, wait a minute, wow, they were so inconsistent with those grades and they mean nothing. Do you know what that's going to do to the market? That will crash the market. And that's why I say this comic market is healthy. I think slabs are healthy for the market. I don't like when people say, oh, people that only collect variants and that only, want to slab their books, they're not real comic collectors and they're going to hurt the market. No, they're not. Ultimately, they're not. But this one variable about transparency and accountability could be the dagger that could really hurt the market. And I think we're a long way from that happening. I really do. I don't think there's some conspiracy, but in order to beef up the market, again, I'm going to repeat, all CGC needs to do is give us some transparency. That's it, to their standards. We need to have public grading standards. I've used both companies and I've been in the comic industry for a while. I would have to give an edge to CBCS over CGC. Both companies have made mistakes with me. That is a awesome, well-balanced statement. I definitely appreciate that. I've heard both as well. I've heard some horror stories about CBCS as well. But CBCS not only made it right, they owned it. And hey, that's good too. I heard stories about PGX owning some issues too, which is great. And that's another thing that I'm getting from CGC. It's like, I don't think, off the top of my head, I can think of one mistake owned by CGC. So does that mean they're not making mistakes or something else going on? They made my small order seem important and it felt great. That's awesome. That's awesome. CBCS, that is. Did you check? Oh, yeah, Isaac, you told me about that. I think I did briefly. I think I did. I'm going to look into it more because there's a lot of things that I'm checking out right now, and it's hard for me to stay on top of it all. But I do remember you saying that and me checking it out a little bit. My short-term memory lately is a bit out of whack, guys. Apologize for that. What grade do you think your ASM 17 would get if you sent it in? You want me to grab it? Let me grab it. Be right back. 17. Well, guys, I'm not going to take it out of the Mylar, but looking at it, well, let's see. Maybe you guys can give an opinion just from, I know, looking at a book on a screen in Mylar, you're not going to really be able to see, but from what I remember from when this book was out, and I might give it a press again, it's definitely got some rounded edges. It's kind of chipped at the top, but the chip is hanging on, and it's very small. It's about the size of a rice. The spine is flat. I could probably give it a press. I don't think I've given this book a press yet. A lot of spine ticks though. The staples are still on, but you see obvious wear around the staples. We got some color breaking crease going like this, and some small ones going like that. Color breaking crease right here, some foxing and wear down there, and it looks like we have a little bit of a rip, which it looks like a spine tick that ended up actually possibly ripping. I can't tell if it's a rip or not. That's going about maybe a centimeter into Spider-Man's hand there. So my unprofessional opinion, I would like to say that this book could get a 3.5. If I pressed it up, I would hope that it could get maybe more than that, at least a 4.0. That's my personal opinion. But honestly, 4.5. Isaac says 4.5. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, this might be one that I send in. But again, this is the type of book and I'm not a seller, guys. I'm not a flipper. I'm not trying to sell my books, but I always have resale value in the back of my head, right? As a collector. And if I was to ever get rid of this book, I could probably give this a nice press, sell this on eBay, stating it is a 4.0, and get more money out of it than say if I brought it into CGC and they gave me a 2.5, right? So it's a dilemma. It's a dilemma. You're taking risks there. Daniel says CGC freaking license to steal. Can't wait until they get to giving out 10 so they have nowhere else to go. That would be awesome. I don't know. Hey, can we slip them some money and for them to give us a 10? Isaac says that's a cool book. Appreciate it, man. It's definitely one of the favorites in my collection. You looking at any copies of X-Men 266? Well, it is 266 is on my 2021 list. I'm not really making any purchases right now. I'm unfortunately this crisis has left me jobless. Not to go too much into this, but I work 2 different jobs at a school. I'm a paraeducator part-time, and then I do an intramural sports director job. The sports director job is a special type of job, and they don't see it as a district job, and they're basically refusing to pay me. So I'm only getting a little bit of money every paycheck for my part-time paraeducator job, and I was denied unemployment, and I'm fighting that. So it's like I'm just grateful. I could be off in a much worse situation, and I'm grateful for everything that I have because it allows me to say, well, I'm going to organize my books right now. I'm going to read some books right now instead of focusing on trying to get new books. But I'm constantly watching Uncanny X-Men 266. And I looked at some prices sold on eBay and the Mercari selling app. And I was talking about this in my video earlier, like the market is really all over the place right now because in the last couple of weeks or so, or last month, I've seen high grades go kind of sporadic. I saw I think it was a raw book, but it was stated as like a 9.2. And I looked at it, and I do think it was at least a 9.0, and it sold for like $89. And then there was like a 9.4 CGC that sold for like 120. But then there was a 9.4 that sold for like 180. So, and then there was like a raw book that sold for 150. That was around a 9.2, 9.0, 9.4. So definitely some sporadic sales going on here. I think that speaks to the fact that there's some people that are have extra cash in their pocket right now that are really willing to spend. But then there's other people that need extra cash in their pocket and they're willing to sell a little low. If I get rid of the book, if I get rid of them, honestly, most likely they're going to my kids or their grandchildren for sure. This crisis really affected people. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's tough, man. But you know, like I said, one day at a time. I pray for everyone going through struggles, and we try to just be grateful for the things that we do have. So well, guys, we're approaching an hour here. I actually only meant this to be like a short kind of 15-minute video, but I appreciate everyone chiming in. I appreciate everyone providing me feedback. And I just want to give a big shout out to my viewer, Cody, again, man, because for those that weren't here in the beginning, I talked about how this actually was inspired by Cody commenting on some of my videos. And I thought he was being like cynical, but he was just trying to like provide context and information. And I'm glad that we were able to go back and forth. And that's why it's good. It's good, guys, to be extra vocal about like, yeah, I support you, but let me kind of interject here with this kind of opinion, even though it may disagree. We got to be sure that to remain positive even when we disagree, because sometimes words can get lost in translation when we're reading them from a screen. I enjoyed the back and forth. I appreciated being able to come out here and convey myself to him and you all about this matter, because it's dealing with slabs and graded books and CGC right now is a very, very interesting topic. And I think it's something that we need to keep discussing. And I think I always say that truth lies somewhere in between, guys, right? That's with politics, it's with comic books, it's with any kind of debate you can get in, right? Like we are so programmed to like be way over here or way over here. But honestly, that truth is somewhere in here. So let's not be scared to have thoughtful argumentation and to debate and to come to a point where we can speak different perspectives and take something from each other, right? So I'll go through a last of these comments here real quick before we wrap up. Comic books are a good investment. You can even resell them or use them for leveling up, like in Fallout. Absolutely, can't argue that. Sports Pro says this crisis may be getting in the comics. That's awesome. Hey, you know what? Make the best of bad situations. I've been saying it, and that's not to glorify the bad situation, but look, man, I've been home with my kids, and I'm thankful for that. I've been playing video games with them. I haven't done that in a long time. I'm doing Mod Podge projects, making custom comic book boxes. I'm doing art pieces and commission pieces, and I'm connecting with people. I have more time to connect with people on here, which is freaking awesome, because really this is all we have right now, and we have to find some way to connect with people, and I'm appreciative of all you guys, and so yeah, this is definitely awesome. Lisa said, you mean an adult discussion? No way. Absolutely. Yes. We need to have adult discussions and not resort to being children. I always say when people get on Facebook and social media and they tend to be like, so cynical and a-holes and narcissist. I'm like, dude, do you have children? Because like, are you teaching your children to act like this? Come on. Let's we got to be better examples, right? As always, informative and energetic, says Simon. Appreciate you, Simon, man. Thank you so much. Joseph says, the thing with CGC is they think they are the greater gods of comics. And again, Joseph, and I'm answering all these statements as middle ground as I can. The fact that you think that is completely valid, because they give us no little context to judge otherwise. So until they can be more transparent, I mean, maybe there is a complex going on, and they're getting a bit too cocky, and that could come back to hurt their business model in the future. This crisis made me able to get enough money to buy a Werewolf by Night 32. Sweet. Is that the first appearance of Moon Knight? I don't know off the top of my head. Cheese boy. I was never really big into the the horror type stuff until probably the last year or so. I didn't have much in my collection at all. I mean, I enjoy the Blade movies, but actually when the Blade movies came out is when I wasn't even really collecting comics. So I found a newfound love for that genre for sure. Yes, 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 yes. Are you getting any Golden Age, Isaac? Is that what you're referring to? Actually, I have a Golden Age book out that I was gonna press. Gene Autry, Western Golden Age book. One of the few Golden Age books that I have in my collection. I don't have too many, and I'm pretty sure that I do not have any DC or Marvel Golden Age, but I would really love some, especially actually the some that I want to get is Wonder Woman. I want to get some 10-cent Wonder Woman comics because I love Wonder Woman, and I've been working on some run fillers for like more of the Bronze Age books in that run. So yeah, so all right, guys. If anybody has any final comments or questions, I'll take them here. Other than that, again, man, I appreciate you all. Again, tomorrow I am having a live stream with special guest B Level from B Level Star Wars. He's a huge Star Wars guy. This guy knows Star Wars like you. I think I love Star Wars. This guy is like a walking Star Wars encyclopedia. And we're not just talking about Star Wars though. We're talking about geek culture. And like I said earlier in this video, it's going to be a bit of a deep discussion. You know, we're going to talk about the state of the culture, the state of the fan bases, and how there is this divide and how we can bridge the divide right now. So Kingdom Comics says, yo, what's going on, man? So yeah, so guys, 6 p.m. tomorrow, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Try to get on board with that, get some popcorn, and hopefully it'll be a really good show. Just to give kind of an outline, we're going to be talking about geek culture in general and broken down with the state of comic books, film, and then specifically Star Wars. So those three avenues. We're going to go into a little bit of the history of comic books and the social implications of comic books. We're going to get into how the ideology of politics ties in to comic books in the past and now, and how that has been a more of a divisive tool. And we're going to discuss this thing not to present one side of an argument or another, but to get those people that are on extreme sides of the fence here and how we can unite them. We know that we've seen that with some of the Marvel movies. We've seen backlash. We've seen it a lot with Star Wars. So we are going to present this topic in a way to say, how do we find valid points and valid frustrations from both sides of an argument, recognize them, bring those pieces together, and mend this divide that's in the comic book community, that's in the pop culture and geek community. And the one thing that inspired me to do the show that I'm doing tomorrow is the support and the love that this community has shown in the last few weeks around the community losing one of its members. So a member that was all about positivity and unification. So that's what tomorrow's show is going to be like. I hope you guys can join. Jojo, oh, thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I really hope it to be a very, very positive show. Silver Age Dave, what's going on, man? No worries, no worries. Just like I missed your birthday one, but watch that. That was so awesome. It was so awesome seeing your excitement when you opened up your package. I'm very extreme. I love comic comics. That's a great extreme. You know, I always say dealing in absolutes is dangerous, right? Like no matter where that absolute sits, but when it comes to comics, being extreme and being absolute, man, I'm all for that. And hey, you can't argue that for sure. So Server says no more kung fu fighting except for Shang-Chi and Richard Dragon, of course. That's awesome. I hear you. I hear you. Awesome. And hey, like I said, this is a time where like social media and the technological age is doing so many positive things for all of us. We can really step up and you know, work together and connect with each other since we have no other connection at all. And we got to really, you know, focus on the positives and be united during these times. Because I always say too, regardless of our differences, we have more in common than we do that is different, especially for all of us who love geek culture. So, all right, guys, I'm going to go in and cook some homemade pasta for my kids. I appreciate everyone hopping by. Again, if you guys could stop by tomorrow, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I will be here with B-Level, and I hope to see you all and to really have an outpour of viewer input. So thank you guys again for watching. Be safe, be healthy. Till next time.